Welcome to Solitaire Quest, Episode 22. I'm the Blood Knight of the Old Republic of Bloodganistan, and we're here, folks. Timeless Children. Written by